what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Boyos Discuss, the podcast where we pick a topic and then shoot the shit about it for a while. If you enjoy the episode and are watching on YouTube, then we'd appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. If you're listening on Spotify, we'd also appreciate it if you follow us there. With all that out of the way, let me introduce my co-host, Ben. How's it going?
Well, I got rained out of Scarborough Fair this weekend, so it's okay. I get to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah. This week, we're talking about episode 3 of The Bad Batch, which is titled Replacements. This episode tells two stories at the same time. You've got the Bad Batch who are repairing damage to their ship, which they sustained in the previous episode, and they get into some shenanigans along the way. And then there's Crosshair's story, which is the way more interesting part of the episode, I think. And basically, you have the Empire, they bring in some non-clone, like, soldiers or commandos, and they're trying to see if they'd be more effective in combat if they had a clone leading them. And so they send them to Onderon, along with Crosshair, to basically finish off Saw Gerrera's forces, but Gerrera has left, and there's just these sort of remnants there. And they kill all of the, the rebel troops, if you will. And then they have just a bunch of civilians left. And so one of the commandos is like, I'm not okay with us killing, just random people. We're not going to do this. We'll take him in for questioning. And so Crosshair fucking murks the guy. And then at the end of the episode, we get sort of another hint as to what the bigger picture may be with what's going on with Kamino. They talk about bringing in someone back from the Bad Batch in order to make a new army of clones sort of thing. And that's where the episode ends. So what did you think of the episode overall, Ben?
Like you said, the Bad Batch take a back seat in their own TV show to the more interesting stuff happening around them. That's not about them. Like, I loved the Crosshair stuff. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was like, I was sort of shocked that it was that dark.
Yeah.
Because I was not, like, we haven't had anything like that I can recall. I don't know, like, obviously Clone Wars was darker, but
Yeah.
just thinking back to Star Wars Rebels, the last time you had someone being like, oh yeah, we're gonna, like, execute someone was when Thrawn had that guy in that factory, and they had, like, sabotaged those speeders or whatever, and Thrawn was like, oh, well, if you built it, then you're going to be the one that tests it. He fucking makes the guy blow himself up.
It's hilarious. I don't know if it was meant to be funny.
It was not.
It was hilarious. But, no, I know. I was like, okay, so the episode starts and you get Wrecker being a fucking derp and hitting his head. Oh, ow, my head. And then, it's being goofy, and there's this little, like, alien monster that takes their power source, and they learn to live harmoniously with it, or blah, blah, blah. So it's like your boring, normal Star Wars thing. And then it's like, oh, what's Crosshair doing? Oh, he's ordering a flamethrower trooper to incinerate civilians. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ, go back to the Bad Batch. Like, it was a weird kind of, I liked it. I'm always down for just more grounded, darker war stories. I mean, they're in war, but yeah, I'm surprised they went there.
Yeah, yeah, that's sort of
becoming really cool.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where we go with that in the future. Just because I don't know, when you started off with him leaving the Bad Batch, it was sort of like, okay, well maybe he'll come back, but at this point it's like, geez, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's redeemable after some of the stuff he's doing, but so I don't know. Where do you fall on that? Do you think that there is any chance that he'll
do this? I think they're gonna do this thing. I just watched Invincible, right? And it's that new cartoon on Amazon. And there's this part where this mad scientist abducts people and removes parts of their brains to make them like the perfect warrior cyborg with no emotion. And then eventually he fucks with them so much that they're just like they gain sentience for like a second and just like kill themselves. So I don't think they're gonna do that in Bad Batch, but I think it's gonna be a similar story where it's like RoboCop or something, where this guy gets programmed so hard that eventually they're just gonna program him way too far, and he's gonna be all fucked up, and then he's gonna have like a glimmer of like, oh my God, I'm a monster, and then something's gonna happen. He either dies in a hail of glory, or I don't know what, but I think that's what they're gonna do with Crosshair.
Yeah, that's sort of what I think they're doing as well, because they did have that, maybe, was it in this episode, where he's continuing to get the I guess, enhancements done to his
Yeah,
chip or whatever, and they're like,
yeah,
yeah, it's still working pretty good.
yeah. Pretty much every
Um,
time we see him outside of a combat scenario, it's just him sitting in like the MRI machine getting brain blasted and fucking microwaved, and they're like,
yeah.
yeah, he's even better now. And then like the one time we saw him in introspection, like he goes back to his bunk and just sits there, and it's just like looks all fucked up, but and it's just like, oh man. So I would love to see more Crosshair. If this was a show about Crosshair, I might be more. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions I had. Would this episode have worked better if it had just been a Crosshair episode? And I think we both are kind of the mindset that, yeah, it probably would have been. Because I get the idea, like the whole, even the name of the episode, which is replacements. It's like you have the replacement capacitor for the ship that they're looking for, and also I guess a replacement in Omega and their squad, and then you have the other replacements with the Imperials.
Yeah, that's
So
really cool. Actually, I didn't think about that.
and so it's like it's like a thematic thing that's carrying over, between both stories. But I don't know. Just I think that Crosshair's part of the story is just infinitely better in this
Yeah.
episode. And I'm sort of excited to see maybe we'll go down like a path where it's like not every other episode, but like I don't know, every few episodes we focus on Crosshair and what he's doing a little bit more. Like I would have liked if it had just been an episode about him and what's going on there, because I think you
Yeah.
could have probably done more with that, but maybe that's something that they're going to lead into later on. But do you think that because like we had talked about Wrecker's head injury when he got bonked in the head during the crash landing, do you think that that's something to do with his inhibitor chip, or is it a red herring?
I think he's just a fuck. He's just an idiot. And they're like, oh, he hit his head. Haha.
But like I
But
don't know,
I
because the
don't
whole
know.
thing is the which clone was it when the one that took it out in the Clone Wars show?
Fives?
Yeah, it was Fives. Wasn't it like something had happened and it was hurting his head, the chip, if I
Yeah.
recall?
Well,
And
wait.
so that's I think they're
Yeah.
either implying that him bonking his head has made it so now his inhibitor chip is working with Wrecker, or it's a red herring and they're just gonna be like, ah, we tricked you.
Man, if Wrecker gets his inhibitor chip activated and they just have to come to a decision, let him to like stop him or not. Oh my God, shoot his ass! Fucking, I'm so sick of
Well,
him.
and like the other I guess detail that maybe suggests that's where things are going is Tech at the beginning of this episode was working on a scanner specifically to scan those chips.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a possibility on where we're probably gonna go.
Okay.
I don't know,
I could
but
see that.
you can go.
No, I was just saying I could see that. Like I didn't think about that connection, but I was mainly just kind of my eyes kind of glazed over a little bit in the Bad Batch stuff. Like it was just
You
it's
didn't
pretty
like
cool.
seeing Omega get a room on
That was
the.
nice.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think Wrecker gave her toy and built her a little room in the ship and the lights. He's like, your room, hee hee. It's just like I don't know, man. It just can't. I'm still thinking about last week where uh, she ran away from an actual family with kids to be with hardened war veterans on missions. And it's like, oh well, they made her a room. It's like that's nice, but they're in combat zones. Like I don't. This is not a safe.
Can
It's
we
not
talk about how she went into like a fucking dragon's
right.
like cave thing?
Yeah, and Hunter
It's like
just like
what
used
kid?
her the ultimate hunter, walking around and then gets like hit too hard in the face and loses his oxygen mask and, and just like would die.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, man. I get instances where she might have to save him or something, but that was kind of silly. But she goes into the cave for the energy dragon because it's eating their ship parts for energy, and it was like I don't know, man.
It
Why can't a
reminded
wild animal
me
just be wild? Like, why
so
can't it
like
just rip apart people?
yeah, and it
Why is it
reminded
always
me
going to be a misunderstood
of the
thing that
Rise of
keeps?
Skywalker,
Oh, I know,
and I
totally.
hated that
I
scene in the
know.
Rise of
It's like, no, no, stop.
Skywalker.
It's actually like this giant monster that can rip you limb from limb it actually, if you don't attack it, it's a little puppy. And it's like, look, man, chimpanzees rip people's like arms off. Like, I want to see a wild Star Wars animal, not one that's just a misunderstood sentient thing. Like, and you only ever really see that reaction with animals to a Star Wars character when they're force sensitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
So
point. Yeah.
I think they're alluding to that. Um, but yeah, she gave the dragon a flashlight, and it was like woohoo, and she took the ship part back, and Hunter was like, "Wow, you're a vital part of this squad because I can't keep a mask on my face." But it was fine.
Yeah, I don't know. And like I probably would have been more okay with it had there not been the inclusion of the line cuz like she had the blaster when she went down to get the part from the dragon and then she tells Hunter, "But I didn't have to use it." And I was
Oh,
like,
I know,
"Ugh, it's like you don't need to like spell it out, you know?" I don't
I
know. It's
know,
just
and that's one of the weird things where it's like, from what we're talking about now, it sounds like just like a little hee hee. It's a good explanation for the Clone Wars. Because you'll get some fucking episodes that are like, didn't have to use the blaster. The animal was wheel friendly, and then it turns around and you're fucking turning goddamn rebels and civilians into firewood and shooting soldiers in the back because they
dude,
disagree with your orders. And it's like, Jesus
dude,
Christ, the
when
tone shift.
Crosshair fucking like sniped through the pilot of that shuttle,
It was awesome.
I was like, holy
I
shit.
know. I went
I
for it.
thought the ship was gonna, because I didn't realize how high the ship was. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, he's just gonna kill them and they're
Yeah.
just gonna die in a crash.
And that punk ass fucking one of the guys in his squad, the one he kills, is like, even on their way there, he's like, I don't like you. You stink, mister. And Crosshair's just like, he's an unhinged clone. Like, you can see it in his face that his
Yeah.
motherfucker has seen some shit. And this guy's just like, you're a doo-doo head, and I don't want to be with you. You suck. And then he wants to kill the civilians, and he's like, "No, siree, I already talked about you, mister." And then he turns his back on him. I'm like, dude, like I saw that coming, but it was still, and I like that they're doing the like real subtle transition. Still, like there's not just stormtrooper armor, and there's not new armor sets. It's kind of just like rushed paint jobs on top of clone armor,
Yeah.
and they have like these new Black Ops armor sets and stuff, and I mean, I'm still enjoying it. And Tarkin, what, he got a replacement on Camino?
Yeah,
You
well, and
remember that
they
kid?
subtly were like, now Tarkin is Governor Tarkin, because I think in
Mm-hmm.
the first episode he was still referred to as Admiral, and
Yes.
then in this he was like, "Ooh, Governor," and so and then
Oh,
I think that the idea was that they were promoting that new Imperial Toady guy, whatever
yeah.
his name was.
And where do they keep these fucking? He was this British motherfucker going like, "We're on track on schedule," and it's like, where was it's like I get that the Empire is all made up of these very classy British officers, but like it's just were they keeping them in a closet? And they're like, "All right, showtime. Now it's time. Bring out the accents, boys. We don't have to hide anymore." And then they have like the Imperial. They completely look like the Imperial officers. Like those uniforms were ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they already sort of did in the Clone Wars. Like, you had the few
He was
officers, I
getting there,
guess.
yeah. But now it's
Yeah.
like you have the little pins for
Those were there too.
the codes and stuff. Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
The like rank pin things that you're talking about.
No, like they look like pens. Like they look like you would
Oh,
put pen
yeah,
on
okay,
top of it.
the like
It's like
security key
security codes,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I guess
But
that's true.
yeah, I
They
mean
were.
it's pretty much they're there.
Yeah.
But everything else needs to catch up to them. But
One thing that was cool.
I bet they're gonna use this guy as the new Tarkin
Oh,
completely.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see as much Tarkin going
I don't think
forward,
we're gonna
which
see him
is
again. Honestly, I'd be surprised if we did.
yeah. I don't know. I think we'll see him maybe in the last few episodes, but like between now and then, I don't know. But one thing that was cool, or I guess a neat Easter egg, is that they mention like Operation something, or like there's some code word that they use for the initiative to have like clones leading just regular enlisted people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a like when they're in Rogue One, when they're going through the like database thing and they're like project this, that's one of the project names that they
Oh,
state.
cool.
And so it's like I really love the I don't know, I guess the connective sort of tissue, just in terms of like Easter eggs like that. It was just really sort of cool to have someone point that out. And that was just someone on that Star Wars Leaks subreddit who was like, dude, that's a fucking reference, dog. And I was like, holy shit.
That's cool.
Yeah. Do you think that we're gonna get any more development for these like other clones or not clones, these other troopers that are in Crosshair's new squad? Or do you think they're just gonna be because they didn't really say I don't think any of them said anything besides that
Yeah,
one who was like, I'm just here to make money and you know, they give me a
I
roof over my head, so it's
I
real
don't think
good.
so, but maybe.
I kinda
But
hope
I
they
think that
do.
yeah, I think it'd be cool, but it would split the focus of the show, I think. But I mean, if they're not doing anything interesting with the Bad Batch, go ahead and split the focus. Like, I want to see cool Star Wars stuff. Like, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like in the Mandalorian show, I didn't really want to see anybody but the Mandalorian. He's great. I love him as a character, and I'm interested to see what his story is. And the Star Wars around him is cool, but I still like him. In the Bad Batch, it's like the opposite. It's like all the stuff happening around them is really fucking cool, and it's awesome to see, and I want more of it. But then the Bad Batch themselves are the worst part of their own show, and it's just like, come on, man. I feel like I'm gonna say every week that I hope they get better, but I do. Like I won't. I just want them to be interesting because they're not.
Yeah. Do you think that's because like I don't know, with the Mandalorian it was always like the episode would end on sort of like a cliffhanger, I guess. And you would have something to be like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen next week, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a mistake that they're not doing that for this really?
Um. I think Mandalorian was for very broad audiences, and I think this is a lot more focused. Like you'd have to watch, or I mean, like there's a lot of Star Wars preparation to understand the intricacies of what's happening in this. This feels like a more nerdy, like it's not just references, but it's like who are these characters? What are their motivations? What's happening in the universe right now? This and that. Like there's a lot of subtext and there's a lot of stuff you'd have to kind of already know about the universe. Uh, but I don't know. Like people are gonna watch. I'm gonna watch it still. I think they have the audience that's gonna watch it. Like the people who watch the Clone Wars are not missing an episode of this show. So I think they'll be fine. I don't think it's hurting them. It's just not as interesting right now.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at as well. It reminds me of like I don't know, early season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like there's just little adventures and like you'll have stuff interwoven in those adventures that's more interesting. Like you'll have, Aang and the rest of the Avatar crew, just doing some bullshit with like a fortune teller, but then they'll go over to Zuko and he's doing something real badass and it's like, dude, I want to see more of that. But I don't
Yeah.
know, that's sort of like and maybe that's the Dave Filoni seeping in cuz didn't he write for Avatar, I want to
Yes, he
say.
did.
Yeah, that's sort of a I guess similar tissue or whatever that's built into how the show is told or the
I think
story's
that's a
told.
really good device for when you want to build character development. Like when you're not focusing on the plot, you should be focusing on the characters. But it's kind of like doing neither.
Yeah.
Like, okay, next adventure.
Were there any other things you wanted to talk about with this episode or the show so far as a whole or
No. Yeah.
what?
Keep watching it. I want to see more dark shit, more war crimes and shit.
Yeah, one there was something I had somebody had talked about this and I was like that is an interesting point and I'm glad it's gone this direction. Like just by nature of having their own streaming service, they aren't forced to because like with Rebels, the whole reason it was so like kid oriented was because it was on Disney XD. And so they had like I guess guidelines in terms of what they could do. Just because of how they like determine who the audience is on that channel and that sort of thing. But by being on a streaming service, they're a lot more free to sort of do what they want.
Hmm.
And I think that that's at least something in the favor of maybe the Bad Batch continuing to stay on kind of a darker tone, or having that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
that'd
But
be awesome. Like
yeah,
it's prime. This is the prime time of the Star Wars universe to get into the darker stuff. Uh, oh, we didn't really talk about like the Kaminoans at the end of the episode. We're talking, and I don't know if I don't know. I might need to watch this scene again, but they're talking about how to compete with the Empire, they're gonna have to use a better formula for clones because Jango Fett's DNA is kind of like wearing thin.
Yeah.
So they're looking for a different strain or something. Is that
Well,
what do you
and
think that's
so
about?
my whole thing is like, you could interpret that as them being like, okay, we got to get the Bad Batch back. However, the only other, I guess, super pure form of DNA of Jango Fett, if that's what you want to do, is Boba Fett.
That's what I was thinking.
And so I'm like, it could be. And all I'm saying is like, if they really wanted to have, I guess, synergy with their shows, you could have an episode with Boba Fett. And I think we talked about this last time as well.
Yeah.
You could have an episode with Boba Fett that then leads into something that is expanded upon in the book of Boba Fett, whenever that show comes out. But
That's my theory. I did think they were talking about Boba because yeah, like you said, he's the last pure kind of form of Jango's DNA.
yeah. So I don't know. We probably shouldn't hype ourselves up for stuff like
I
that,
know,
because then inevitably,
talking about the Bad Batch, they already have Crosshair. I mean, like,
yeah,
I don't see how they'd be different. They
yeah.
have their specialties, but blah.
All right, so I guess that's going to wrap things up for this episode. If you enjoyed it, then like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And follow us on Spotify as well. Till next time.
See you around, kid.